911, what's your emergency?
Trust is the most fragile currency in human life. When it breaks, it doesn't shatter quietly. It explodes. In Fuquay Varina, North Carolina, a husband's suspicion of betrayal turned into a confession written in blood and broadcast online. What began as whispers inside a marriage ended with gunfire, silence, and a message that still echoes. I killed her. George Lesniak, 63, and his wife Kathleen, 59, had lived together in a spacious 5-bedroom house. To neighbors, they seemed like a settled couple, older, steady, and private. Yet beneath the surface, tension had been building. George believed Kathleen had been unfaithful. That suspicion, whether grounded in fact or not, consumed him. Kathleen was described by those who knew her as warm and approachable. She had worked in healthcare administration and was known for her reliability. George, on the other hand, had a reputation for being private, sometimes withdrawn. Friends noted that he could be intense, especially when it came to matters of loyalty and trust. The marriage had lasted decades, but by late 2024, cracks were visible. George suspected Kathleen of infidelity. Whether this suspicion was rooted in evidence or paranoia remains unclear, but it became the lens through which he viewed her every action. In his mind, her loyalty was broken, and with it, the foundation of their marriage. Neighbors recalled seeing less of the couple together. Kathleen often ran errands alone, while George spent more time at home. The distance between them was subtle but noticeable. What no one realized was how deeply George's suspicions had taken hold. By January 2025, George's belief that Kathleen had betrayed him had hardened into certainty. He confronted her, demanding answers. Accounts suggest that Kathleen denied wrongdoing, but George was unconvinced. In his mind, her denials were lies, and her silence was proof. For George, now the marriage was no longer a partnership, but a battlefield. He saw himself as a man deceived, humiliated, and trapped. And in that distorted reality, violence began to feel like resolution. Behind closed doors, a marriage that had once seemed ordinary was unraveling into suspicion and resentment. George's certainty of betrayal became the only truth he recognized. And when loyalty turns into obsession, the line between love and violence is not just thin, it is invisible. January 18th, 2025. George's suspicions had reached a breaking point, and Kathleen was the target of his rage. That evening, George confronted Kathleen once more. At approximately 6 p.m., neighbors reported hearing sharp cracks, gunshots echoing from inside the house. George had retrieved a firearm. Kathleen was struck multiple times. She collapsed, fatally wounded, in the home they had shared for decades. But George did not stop there. In a moment that blurred the line between confession and spectacle, he opened Facebook and typed a message to a group he managed. My wife admitted to cheating on me, so I killed her. I'm about to kill myself. It was not a private note. It was a broadcast. A declaration meant to be seen. Within minutes, the post was deleted, but not before members of the group read it. The digital trail became part of the crime itself, evidence of his mindset, his justification, and his intent. After posting, George turned the gun on himself. Screenshots circulated among those who had seen it, and whispers spread quickly. The digital confession became part of the crime itself, a chilling artifact that blurred the line between private rage and public declaration. Unlike many murder-suicides where the killer's reasoning is left to speculation, George had written his justification in real time. The betrayal narrative, his belief that Kathleen had been unfaithful, was not just spoken in anger, it was broadcast. Neighbors who had known the couple only casually now saw the crime through George's words. To them, the Facebook post was not just evidence. It was a window into his mind. The betrayal he described became the lens through which the tragedy was understood. But the confession raised deeper questions. Why did George choose to share it online? Was it a cry for validation, a final attempt to control the narrative? Or a way to punish Kathleen's memory by making her alleged betrayal public? The act of posting transformed the killing into something more than violence. It became performance. In a world where digital words outlast flesh, George's confession became a haunting echo, leaving behind not just a crime, but a question. Was his final act meant to kill Kathleen or to immortalize her betrayal? When Fuquay-Varina police entered the Lesniak home on January 18, 2025, they found a scene that was both straightforward and deeply unsettling. Kathleen lay dead from multiple gunshot wounds. George was nearby, fatally injured by his own hand. The firearm was recovered at the scene. But what transformed this case from a tragic domestic incident into a chilling betrayal narrative was the digital confession George had left behind. Investigators immediately secured the home, treating it as both a crime scene and a suicide site. Evidence technicians photographed the rooms, collected shell casings, and documented the positions of the bodies. The Facebook post was preserved as digital evidence, screenshots provided by those who had seen it before deletion. Neighbors were interviewed. Some recalled hearing the gunshots, and others described this couple as quiet, private, and largely unremarkable. No one had anticipated violence. Yet as police pieced together the timeline, George's suspicions of infidelity emerged as the central motive. The investigation was swift. With both the victim and perpetrator deceased, there would be no trial, no cross-examination, no courtroom drama. But the police still had to answer questions. What had driven George to this point? Was Kathleen truly unfaithful? Or was George consumed by paranoia? The Facebook post suggested certainty, but certainty does not equal truth. The Lesniak case did not remain confined to the walls of their Fuquay-Varina home. Once the details emerged, the gunshots, the murder-suicide, and most chillingly, the Facebook confession, the community and media began to process the tragedy in their own ways. Neighbors were stunned. To them, George and Kathleen had been quiet, ordinary residents. They waved in passing, exchanged pleasantries, but rarely revealed much about their private lives. The sudden eruption of violence shattered that image. For many, the realization was unsettling. Betrayal and murder had unfolded just a few doors away, hidden until the final moment. Local media quickly picked up the story. Headlines emphasized the Facebook post, the digital confession that transformed the case from a domestic tragedy into a public spectacle. And reporters framed it as a betrayal killing, highlighting the psychological weight of George's words. The narrative was not just about violence, but about the way betrayal had been weaponized, both in action and in declaration. Community discussions reflected a mix of grief and unease. Some sympathized with Kathleen, seeing her as a victim of paranoia and control. Others, influenced by George's confession, wondered if betrayal had indeed occurred. The ambiguity deepened the tragedy. leaving space for speculation that could never be resolved. Social media amplified the case. Screenshots of George's post circulated, sparking debates about domestic violence, mental health, and the dangers of public confessions. The case became a mirror for broader anxieties. How easily suspicion can escalate, how quickly private lives can collapse, and how digital platforms can immortalize words that should never have been written. For the community, the Lesniak home became a symbol of hidden darkness. For the media, the case was a story of betrayal, violence, and confession. And for those who read George's words, it was a chilling reminder that sometimes the most haunting truths are not whispered. They are posted. Whether that belief was rooted in reality or delusion, it carried enough weight to destroy 2 lives and fracture a community's sense of safety. Psychologists often describe betrayal as one of the most destabilizing human experiences. It erodes trust, reshapes identity, and can ignite obsessive thinking. For George, betrayal was not just suspicion, it was certainty. His Facebook confession revealed a mind consumed by the idea that loyalty had been broken. In his worldview, Kathleen's alleged infidelity was not just a personal wound, it was an existential threat. This obsession blurred the line between truth and delusion. Thus, without evidence beyond his own words, the reality of Kathleen's actions remains unknown. But George's certainty was enough to justify violence in his mind. Betrayal became both motive and weapon, a psychological force that transformed suspicion into murder. The chilling aspect of the case lies in its ambiguity. Kathleen cannot speak for herself. George's confession dominates the narrative, leaving only his version of events. That imbalance is what makes the story haunting. The truth may never be known, yet the perception of betrayal is immortalized. For the community, the psychological weight extended beyond the couple. Neighbors grappled with the realization that ordinary homes can conceal extraordinary darkness. Readers of George's post confronted the unsettling idea that betrayal, whether real or imagined, can drive someone to kill. Thus, the case became less about facts and more about the fragility of trust. How quickly suspicion can metastasize into violence. In the end, the Lesniak case is not just a story of murder. It is a story of how betrayal, whether fact or fiction, can consume a mind until love and violence become indistinguishable. And the most chilling truth is this: when only the betrayer's voice survives, the victim's silence becomes the final betrayal.